Welcome to Sleepy Dimensions, where dreams come to life. Relax, unwind, and let go of the day's worries as you drift into a world of comfort and fantasy. If you enjoy our stories, please like, subscribe, and let us know where you're listening from. Sweet dreams await. It all started on a rainy Saturday afternoon. I had just downloaded a new game called Elderwood Chronicles. The reviews were stellar, with players praising its immersive world and deep storyline. As someone who loved fantasy games, I couldn't resist giving it a try. After a few clicks, the game loaded, revealing a lush, enchanted forest. The graphics were breathtaking, almost lifelike. My character, a young warrior named Thorn, appeared on the screen. He had messy brown hair, piercing green eyes, and was dressed in leather armor with a sword strapped to his back. I moved Thorn through the forest, marveling at how smoothly the game played. As I ventured deeper into the woods, I noticed something strange. The game felt different, more real, as if I wasn't just controlling Thorn, but actually guiding him. Every decision I made seemed to carry weight, as though Thorn was truly depending on me. I shrugged it off as just excellent game design and continued playing. Hours passed in the blink of an eye as I completed quests, battled monsters, and explored the vast world of Elderwood. But as the day turned to evening, something unusual happened. Just as Thorn was about to enter a mysterious cave, the screen flickered. For a moment, I thought my computer had crashed, but then the game continued. Except this time, Thorn didn't move when I pressed the keys. Instead, he stood still, glancing around as if he was confused. "What's going on?" I muttered, trying to get him to move again. Suddenly, Thorn looked directly at the screen. No, directly at me. "Can you hear me?" a voice said. It wasn't coming from my speakers. It was in my head. I froze, staring at the screen. Who are you?" "I'm Thorn," the voice replied. "And you? You're controlling me, aren't you?" My heart raced. This had to be some kind of elaborate game mechanic, right? But the way Thorn was speaking, the way he looked at me, it felt too real. "Yes, I'm controlling you," I said slowly, not sure what else to do. "But how are you talking to me? This is just a game, isn't it?" Thorn's expression softened. "A game? No, this isn't a game. At least, not to me. This is my life, my world. And somehow, you've been connected to it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was it possible that Thorn was real? That this game was more than just code and pixels? My hands trembled as I gripped the mouse. "If you're real," I said, "how did I get connected to your world?" Thorn shook his head. "I don't know. All I know is that I've felt someone guiding me, making decisions for me. I thought it was just fate. But now I realize it was you." I spent the next hour talking to Thorn, trying to understand what was happening. He explained that he lived in the world of Elderwood, a place filled with magic, ancient creatures, and kingdoms at war. To him, everything was as real as my own world. He had friends, enemies, hopes, and fears. But until today, he had never been aware of anyone else controlling his actions. "Why are you helping me?" Thorn asked, his voice filled with curiosity. "Why do you make the choices you do?" I thought about it for a moment. "I guess I just want to see you succeed. To complete the quests, defeat the bad guys, and become the hero. It's what the game is about." "But what if I don't want to do those things?" Thorn asked. "What if I want to make my own choices?" That question hit me hard. I had always thought of game characters as just that, characters tools for entertainment. But Thorn wasn't just a character anymore. He was a person with his own desires and fears. It felt wrong to force him to do things he didn't want to do. "What do you want to do?" I asked him. Thorn paused, looking thoughtful. "There's a village nearby where I grew up. It's been years since I've seen it, and I've been so busy with these quests and battles that I've forgotten what it's like to live a normal life. I want to go back, even if just for a little while." It was the first time I hadn't followed the game's main storyline, but I agreed. I guided Thorn out of the dark cave and back through the forest, toward the village he had mentioned. As we traveled, I felt a strange connection growing between us. I wasn't just a player anymore, and Thorn wasn't just a character. We were partners in this strange adventure, and I was starting to care about what happened to him, not just as a game outcome, but as a friend. When we finally reached the village, it was a peaceful place, nestled in a valley surrounded by rolling hills. The villagers went about their daily lives, tending to crops, chatting with neighbors, and caring for their families. It was a stark contrast to the dangerous quests and battles we'd been through. Thorn walked slowly through the village, his eyes scanning every familiar face and building. He seemed lost in thought, and I could sense a mixture of nostalgia and sorrow in his heart. "This was my home," he said quietly, "but it doesn't feel the same anymore. I've changed, and so has the village." I didn't know what to say. I had been controlling Thorn's actions for hours, days even, but this was the first time I felt like I was intruding on something deeply personal. "You don't have to stay," I offered. "We can go back to the quests if you want." Thorn shook his head. "No, I need to see this through. I need to understand what I've lost." We spent the rest of the day exploring the village, talking to the people Thorn had once known. Some remembered him fondly, while others had moved on, their lives taking different paths. It was clear that Thorn's journey had changed him in ways that made it hard to return to his old life. By the time the sun set, Thorn stood at the edge of the village, looking out at the hills. "I don't belong here anymore," he said softly, "but I'm glad I came back. I needed to see it one last time." I felt a pang of sympathy for him. "What will you do now?" Thorn looked up at the sky, where the first stars were beginning to twinkle. "I'll continue the journey, but this time I want to do it my way. I don't want to just follow the quests and battles that others have set out for me. I want to find my own path, even if it's harder." It was a bold decision, and I respected him for it. "I'll be with you, whatever path you choose." Thorn smiled, a rare expression for him. "Thank you, my friend. I don't know how or why our worlds are connected, but I'm glad you're here with me." With a renewed sense of purpose, Thorn and I set off on a new adventure. This time, we weren't just following the game's storyline. We were making our own. We traveled to places that weren't marked on the map, spoke to characters who weren't part of any quest, and discovered secrets hidden deep within the world of Elderwood. As we journeyed, I noticed something incredible happening. The game seemed to respond to our choices in ways I hadn't seen before. New paths opened up, and the world itself seemed to evolve based on our decisions. It was as if Thorn's determination to forge his own destiny was influencing the very fabric of the game. One day, while exploring a forgotten temple deep in the mountains, we discovered something that would change everything. At the heart of the temple was an ancient stone tablet, covered in glowing runes. As Thorn approached it, the runes began to shift, forming words that we could both read. "The one who guides and the one who follows are bound by fate," the tablet read. Together, they hold the power to shape the world. But beware, for the line between reality and fantasy is thin, and the bond they share may be stronger than either knows. Thorn and I exchanged a glance. The tablet's message was clear. Our connection was more than just a fluke. It was something deeper, something that tied our worlds together. "What does it mean?" Thorn asked, his voice tinged with concern. "I'm not sure," I admitted. "But I think it means we have the power to change things, both in your world and maybe even in mine." The realization was both thrilling and terrifying. We had been given a gift, but also a great responsibility. The choices we made could have far-reaching consequences, not just for Thorn, but for everyone in his world. "We'll have to be careful," Thorn said, his expression serious. "But I believe we can use this power for good. We can make the world a better place." And so, with a new sense of purpose, we continued our journey. But this time, every step we took was filled with the knowledge that we were no longer just playing a game. We were shaping a reality, one choice at a time. As weeks turned into months, Thorn and I grew closer. Our adventures took us to every corner of Elderwood, from the icy peaks of the Frostfang Mountains to the scorching deserts of the Sunken Sands. We faced countless challenges, made new friends, and even uncovered ancient secrets that had been lost for centuries. But as our journey neared its end, I began to notice something strange. The more time I spent guiding Thorn, the more I felt a pull, like a thread connecting me to his world. It was subtle at first, but it grew stronger with each passing day. One night, as Thorn and I sat by a campfire under a sky full of stars, I felt it again. The pull, tugging at me, drawing me closer to his world. "Thorn," I said, my voice filled with uncertainty. I think I'm starting to feel what you feel. It's like our worlds are merging." Thorn looked at me, his green eyes filled with concern. "What do you mean?" "I'm not sure," I admitted. "But I think if we keep going, I might be pulled into your world, or you might be pulled into mine." The idea was both exciting and terrifying. What would it mean if I became part of Elderwood? Would I still be me, or would I become just another character in the game? And what would happen to Thorn if he came to my world, where magic and monsters didn't exist? "We have to decide," Thorn said, his voice firm. "We can't let this go on without knowing the consequences." He was right. We had to make a choice, one that could change both our lives forever. The next day, we returned to the temple where we had found the ancient tablet. We stood before it, the runes glowing softly in the dim light. "This is it," Thorn said. "Whatever choice we make, it will define our future." The tablet's words echoed in my mind. The one who guides and the one who follows are bound by fate. The bond they share may be stronger than either knows. I took a deep breath. "Thorn, I think we should end the connection. If we keep going, we might lose ourselves completely." Thorn nodded, though I could see the sadness in his eyes. "I understand. But I want you to know, I'm grateful for everything you've done. You've been more than just a guide. You've been a friend." The words struck a chord in my heart. "I'll miss you, Thorn. But this is the right thing to do." With a heavy heart, I placed my hand on the tablet. The runes flared to life, their light filling the room. I felt the pull between our worlds intensify, and for a moment I thought I might be drawn into Elderwood completely. But then the light began to fade, and the connection between us weakened. As the last of the runes dimmed, I heard Thorn's voice one final time. "Farewell, my friend. May your world be as bright and full of adventure as mine." And then the connection was gone. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my room, sitting in front of my computer. The game screen was dark, and the only sound was the soft hum of my computer's fan. I felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, sadness, and a lingering sense of loss. Thorn was gone, and the world of Elderwood was just a game again. But it didn't feel like just a game anymore. It felt like I had left a piece of myself behind. I saved my progress and closed the game, knowing that I could never return to it the same way. Thorn was out there, somewhere in his world, continuing his journey on his terms. And I was here, in my world, with a newfound appreciation for the choices we make and the connections we form, no matter how strange or unexpected they may be. As I crawled into bed that night, I couldn't help but smile. I had been part of something extraordinary, something that went beyond the screen and into the heart of another world. And though the adventure was over, the memories would stay with me forever. With that comforting thought, I drifted off to sleep, dreaming of faraway lands, ancient temples, and a brave warrior named Thorn, who had taught me that sometimes the greatest adventures are the ones we never expected to have. Get ready for the next story. It was a typical rainy evening in London, and I was on my way home from school. The streets were crowded with people hurrying to get out of the rain, their umbrellas bumping into each other as they rushed along the pavement. I was just about to turn down the familiar path that led to my house when something strange caught my eye. There, standing in the middle of the bustling city street, was a man unlike anyone I'd ever seen. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with long wild hair that fell past his shoulders and a thick beard that covered most of his face. He wore a tunic made of rough, woolen fabric, a heavy fur cloak draped over his shoulders, and leather boots that reached up to his knees. In one hand, he held a massive, gleaming axe, and strapped to his back was a round, wooden shield. The man looked completely out of place in modern-day London, as if he had stepped right out of the pages of a history book. People walked past him without a second glance, as if they couldn't see him at all. But I could see him clearly, and I knew right away that something extraordinary was happening. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should just go home and forget about it. But curiosity got the better of me, and I found myself walking towards the mysterious figure. "Excuse me," I said, my voice trembling slightly as I approached him. "Are you lost?" The man turned to face me, his piercing blue eyes locking onto mine. For a moment, he looked just as surprised to see me as I was to see him. Then, to my amazement, he spoke, in perfect English, though his voice had a thick, unfamiliar accent. "I am not lost," he said, his deep voice resonating with authority. "But I am far from home. Tell me, child, where am I?" "You're in London," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. It's the capital of England. What's your name?" The man frowned as he tried to make sense of what I'd said. "London. England. I see. My name is Eric, son of Ragnar. I am a warrior of the north, and I was in the midst of battle when I was suddenly transported here. I do not understand how or why, but I must find a way back." Eric's words sent a shiver down my spine. A Viking warrior, somehow transported to modern-day London. It sounded like something out of a fantasy novel. But as I looked into Eric's eyes, I could tell that he was telling the truth, or at least he believed he was. "Maybe you went through some kind of portal," I suggested, thinking back to all the stories I'd read about time travel and magical gateways. "A doorway between worlds that brought you here." Eric nodded thoughtfully, as if the idea made sense to him. Perhaps. In my land, there are tales of such portals, doors to other realms guarded by powerful spirits. If such a portal brought me here, then I must find it and return home. I could see the determination in Eric's eyes, and I knew that he wouldn't rest until he found a way back. But where would we even begin to look? London was a huge city, and the idea of finding a hidden portal seemed impossible. Just then, a thought occurred to me. "There's a place," I said slowly, "a museum not far from here. It's called the British Museum, and it's full of ancient artifacts from all over the world. Maybe we could find something there that can help you." Eric looked at me with a mixture of hope and gratitude. "You would help me, little one?" I nodded, feeling a surge of excitement. "Yes, I want to help." The next day, after school, I met Eric near the museum. He had spent the night in an abandoned building, away from the prying eyes of the city. Despite his rough appearance, he seemed calmer, more focused on the task ahead. The British Museum was a massive building, filled with countless artifacts from different times and places. As we entered, Eric's eyes widened in awe. He seemed both fascinated and overwhelmed by the sheer amount of history contained within the museum's walls. We wandered through the exhibits, passing by statues of ancient gods, pottery from forgotten civilizations, and weapons from long-ago battles. Eric paused in front of a display of Viking relics, helmets, swords, and shields that looked remarkably like the ones he carried. "These were once like mine," he murmured, his fingers brushing against the glass. "But they have been here for many lifetimes." The realization of how much time had passed since his own era seemed to weigh heavily on Eric. But he quickly pushed those thoughts aside and focused on our mission. We continued exploring the museum until we reached a section dedicated to Norse mythology. The room was dimly lit, with intricate carvings and paintings depicting scenes from ancient legends. At the center of the room was a large stone archway, covered in runes that glowed faintly in the dark. "This," Eric said, his voice filled with reverence, "this is a gateway to the other world. The runes speak of a portal that connects our world with others. If I am to return home, this must be the key." But the archway was only a display, an ancient relic with no apparent power left in it. I could see the disappointment in Eric's eyes as he realized this. But then, something strange happened. The runes on the archway began to glow brighter, and the air around us grew colder. A soft, humming sound filled the room, and before our eyes, the archway began to shimmer with a pale blue light. I could hardly believe what I was seeing. It's activating," I exclaimed, my heart pounding with excitement. Eric stepped forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his axe. "This is the portal that brought me here. It must be. I can feel the magic in the air." As the portal continued to glow, I felt a strange mixture of emotions: excitement, fear, and sadness all at once. I knew that Eric had to return to his own time, but a part of me didn't want him to leave. Despite the brief time we'd spent together, I had grown fond of the ancient warrior and the incredible stories he told of his homeland. Eric seemed to sense my feelings and turned to me with a kind smile. "You have been a true friend, little one. I will not forget your kindness." I smiled back, even though tears pricked at the corners of my eyes. "I'll miss you, Eric, but I'm glad I could help you find your way home." Eric reached out and gently ruffled my hair, just like an older brother might. "Perhaps one day we will meet again, in this world or the next." With that, he stepped towards the glowing archway. The light grew brighter, enveloping him in a soft, bluish glow. Just before he disappeared, Eric turned back to me one last time and gave a nod of farewell. And then, in a flash of light, he was gone. The portal flickered for a moment longer before it, too, faded away, leaving only the ancient stone archway behind. The room fell silent once more, and I stood there, feeling both awed and a little lonely. After Eric's departure, life in London returned to normal, or at least as normal as it could be after such an extraordinary experience. I went back to school, did my homework, and hung out with my friends, but I couldn't stop thinking about Eric and the adventure we'd shared. I often visited the British Museum, wandering through the exhibits and remembering the time I'd spent with the Viking warrior. Sometimes, I would stand in front of the ancient archway, hoping to see the portal light up again, but it never did. Yet, even though Eric was gone, I knew that his story wasn't truly over. He had returned to his own time, to his own people, and I liked to imagine him telling them tales of a strange, distant land called London, where he had met a brave little girl who helped him find his way home. And who knows? Maybe one day another portal will open, and Eric will step through it once more. If that day comes, I'll be ready, waiting to welcome him back and embark on a new adventure together. But for now, I'll keep the memory of Eric and our journey close to my heart, a reminder that even in the most ordinary places, extraordinary things can happen. And as I drift off to sleep each night, I'll dream of faraway lands, ancient warriors, and the magic that exists just beyond the edges of our everyday world. Get ready for the next story. My name is Jeff, and I've always been a little different. While other kids in my town spent their days playing sports or hanging out in groups, I preferred to be alone. It wasn't that I didn't like people. I just felt more at peace when I was by myself, exploring the woods behind my house or sitting quietly by the creek that ran through our backyard. I've always felt a connection to nature, the trees, the wind, the rustle of leaves beneath my feet. It all made me feel alive in a way that nothing else did. But even in nature, I sometimes felt like something was missing, like there was something more out there waiting for me, something just beyond my reach. It wasn't until one evening when the sun was setting and the forest was bathed in a warm, golden light that I finally discovered what I had been searching for. I was sitting on a fallen log, watching the shadows grow longer, when I heard a soft rustling in the bushes behind me. I turned around, expecting to see a rabbit or a deer, but instead, I found myself face to face with a fox. It was unlike any fox I'd ever seen before. Its fur was a deep, reddish-brown, almost glowing in the fading light, and its eyes were a bright, piercing amber. The fox stared at me, unblinking, as if it could see right into my soul. For a moment, I was frozen in place, unsure of what to do. But then, something strange happened. The fox tilted its head to the side, as if inviting me to follow, and without even thinking, I got up and did just that. The fox led me deeper into the woods, moving gracefully through the underbrush. I followed in silence, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and curiosity. It felt like I was being drawn into another world, a place hidden from ordinary eyes. Finally, the fox stopped in a small clearing surrounded by tall, ancient trees. The air was cool and still, and the only sound was the soft rustling of leaves. The fox turned to face me, and for the first time, I heard a voice that wasn't my own but seemed to echo inside my mind. "Jeff," the voice said, gentle and wise. "You have been searching for something, haven't you?" I nodded, too surprised to speak. The fox's eyes seemed to glow even brighter as it continued. "There is a connection between us. a bond that goes beyond the physical world. I am a spirit guide, and I have been watching over you for a long time. Now that you are ready, I can help you understand the connection we share." I blinked, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. A spirit guide? But why me? What does that mean? The fox's voice was soothing as it replied, "You have always felt a pull towards nature, Jeff. You are sensitive to the world around you, to the energy that flows through all living things. This connection has brought us together. I am here to help you understand your place in the world, to guide you on your journey." I felt a warmth spread through my chest, a sense of belonging that I had never felt before. "So, what do I do now?" The fox stepped closer, its eyes never leaving mine. "Listen to the world around you, trust in your instincts, and follow the path that feels right to you. I will be with you, even when you cannot see me, offering guidance and protection." Over the next few weeks, I spent as much time as I could in the woods, hoping to see the fox again. And every now and then I would catch a glimpse of it, darting between the trees, watching me from a distance, always just out of reach. But even when I couldn't see the fox, I could feel its presence. It was as if a part of it was always with me, guiding me, helping me to see the world in a new way. I began to notice things I had never noticed before. The way the leaves on the trees seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, the way the wind whispered through the branches, carrying messages that only I could hear. And it wasn't just nature that felt different. I started to see things in myself that I had never seen before. I felt more confident, more in tune with who I was and what I wanted. I began to trust my instincts, to follow my heart, even when it led me down unfamiliar paths. One day, as I was walking through the woods, I heard the fox's voice again, clear and strong in my mind. "Jeff, you have grown stronger, more attuned to the world around you. But there is still much to learn. Are you ready to continue your journey?" I nodded, feeling a sense of determination rising within me. "Yes, I'm ready." The fox appeared in front of me, its amber eyes glowing with approval. "Then follow me, and I will show you the way." I followed the fox deeper into the woods, through dense thickets and over rocky terrain, until we reached a small hidden grove. In the center of the grove was a large, flat stone, covered in ancient symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. "This is a sacred place," the fox explained. "A place where the veil between worlds is thin. Here, you can connect with the spirit world, with the energy that flows through all living things. Sit on the stone, close your eyes, and open your mind to the possibilities." I did as the fox instructed, feeling the cool stone beneath me as I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. At first, all I could hear was the sound of my own breathing, the rustling of leaves in the wind. But then, gradually, I began to feel something else, an energy, a warmth that spread through my body, connecting me to the earth beneath me and the sky above. The fox's voice guided me, helping me to focus, to let go of my doubts and fears. "Feel the energy around you, Jeff. It is the same energy that flows through the trees, the animals, the water. It is the life force that connects us all." As I focused on the energy, I felt a deep sense of peace, of belonging. It was as if I was no longer just a boy sitting on a stone in the woods. I was part of something much bigger, something ancient and powerful. And then, as if in a dream, I saw visions, images of animals, trees, rivers, mountains, all connected by a shimmering web of light. I saw myself walking along a path, the fox by my side, leading me through the darkness towards the light. When I opened my eyes, the fox was sitting beside me, its eyes full of warmth and understanding. "You are beginning to understand, Jeff," it said. "The connection we share is part of something much greater. You are not alone. You are part of the web of life, connected to every living thing." Chapter 3. The Gift of the Fox. From that day on, my connection to the fox grew stronger. I could sense its presence even when I wasn't in the woods, and sometimes I would hear its voice offering guidance when I needed it most. One evening, as the sun was setting and the sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, the fox appeared to me again, this time closer than ever before. "You have learned much, Jeff," the fox said, its voice filled with pride. "But there is one more gift I must give you." I looked at the fox, my heart pounding with anticipation. "What is it?" The fox stepped closer until it was standing right in front of me. "Close your eyes," it instructed, "and open your heart to the gift I am about to give you." I closed my eyes, feeling the warmth of the fox's presence wash over me. And then I felt something incredible, a surge of energy like a bolt of lightning shooting through my body. It was as if a part of the fox's spirit had entered me, filling me with its strength, its wisdom, its connection to the natural world. When I opened my eyes, I felt different, stronger, more aware of the world around me. The fox was still there, but now I could see it not just with my eyes, but with my heart, with my spirit. "This gift is a part of me," the fox explained. "It will be with you always, even when you cannot see me. Use it wisely, Jeff, and remember that you are never alone. The spirit of the fox will guide you, protect you, and help you find your way." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and awe. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice filled with emotion. "I'll never forget you." The fox nodded in return, its eyes glowing with a gentle light. "And I will never forget you, Jeff. You are a part of me now, just as I am a part of you." With that, the fox turned and walked back into the woods, its form gradually fading until it was just a shadow, then nothing at all. But even as it disappeared, I could still feel its presence, strong and comforting, a part of me forever. After that night, my life was never the same. I no longer felt alone or out of place. I knew that I was connected to something much bigger than myself, and that connection gave me strength, confidence, and a sense of purpose. I continued to visit the woods, to sit on the sacred stone, and to listen to the whispers of the wind and the rustle of the leaves. And whenever I needed guidance or reassurance, I could feel the spirit of the fox within me, offering its wisdom and support. Over time, I began to share my experiences with others, helping them to see the beauty and magic in the world around them. I became a guide, just as the fox had been for me, leading others on their own journeys of self-discovery and connection. And though I never saw the fox in physical form again, I knew that it was always with me, a part of my spirit, my heart, my soul. It was a bond that could never be broken, a connection that would last for all time. As I lay in bed each night, I would close my eyes and imagine the fox beside me, its warm, amber eyes watching over me as I drifted off to sleep. And in my dreams, we would run through the woods together, free and wild, connected by a bond that transcended time and space. And so, my journey with the fox continues, a journey of discovery, connection, and love. A journey that will never truly end,